man. That sucks. Oh gosh, that's the whole introduction. But whatever, man. You guys already know. Welcome to another edition of Crypto World Radio. I'm here joined by new friend of the show, Rick, and also his buddy Days from GG Quest. So I want to welcome you guys back onto the show. How are you guys doing today, man? I already gave the intro, man. I'm not going to give it again. No way. I'm too tired. I'm good, man. I'm good. But Days, what's going on, man? How are you doing, brother?
Good. And the market is looking good. I just tweeted out this chart. OpenSea really shot itself in the foot, actually both feet. And yeah, everyone's pretty much moving to Blur, which is kind of crazy.
Yep. The funny thing about Blur too, man. I remember there being some noise when I was being enthusiastic about Blur, but it seems that tide has changed, and it's really nice to see it, man.
Yeah, well, OpenSea will have to come out with a token for
yeah,
sure. Like
yeah,
they're stuck at this point.
Dude,
Like
there's just too much innovation going on, dude. You have Blur, and then you have there's this platform called Shibuya that I've been talking about for about a month now. I think they're going to be an absolute game changer. And then you have platforms, or not really a platform, but more like a protocol called Illuvium. I mean, I'm sure you guys know about Illuvium, but with what they're doing with their NFTs, like they're going to be like 3D rendered, and eventually they're going to have an AR and an AR implementation, and it's like, you're starting to see all these things come to pass, and the only thing that I can compare this to is the super cycle, right? And a super cycle doesn't necessarily mean up only, but it definitely consists of a lot of consistent innovation, a lot of mass adoption. And I personally believe that we are in the beginning of a super cycle, or rather we have been really since the start of the year. With all the innovation going on in AI and the metaverse and all those things. So, Days, I wanted to get your thoughts, man, since you weren't able to make it last Saturday. What are your thoughts on the current developments going on in metaverse and things like GameFi? I know. We ran into each other in Garlem Space a couple of weeks back, so would love to know your thoughts about it, brother. I'm always trying to look for some innovation going on within Web3 and all those things, man.
Yeah. So I think we're kind of moving into the next era. Like if you look at each cycle, so in the ICO era in the 2017 2018, it's crazy that like that's two cycles before this one. This is another cycle. But anyway, so there's like no tech. Their ICOs were raising like billions of dollars. They were just there's nothing being built at all. And then from 2018 onwards, actually, games have always been on the forefront when it comes to innovation in crypto, especially on like the EVM side. So in 2018, they came out with the ERC 721 when it started seeing more adoption, more games started popping up. And then, there was the emergence of OpenSea. We had CryptoKitties. And then again, this last cycle, games were again kind of, they weren't like entirely leading, because we have now also have DeFi, but, games have carved like a big niche for themselves. And now again, we see them innovating for the next cycle. One of them is identity. That's a huge one where a lot of these games are now trying to like bring all of their stats on chain so that, especially Axie came out with their creator program. That's something that a lot of, I think, DeFi will also move in that direction where you can build more advanced integrations on top of existing DeFi Legos. And I think like whatever innovation is happening around identity in GameFi is going to be translated over to DeFi to start experimenting with under collateralized loans. For example, if you're a wallet and you have a good reputation for like, you have a long standing for 5 years, that'll build up in your soulbound token on your wallet. Or you can create a bundle of wallets and that can become your identity. And then based on that, once I think things get cleaned up, we're going to see regulations no matter what. I think we can start experimenting with more under collateralized. On the gaming side, there's another innovation that we're seeing that we're also looking into implementing is renting out NFTs. I think gaming has a huge use case in this. How we envision it is, we have our GG Quest platform. We have all these game pages where you can see how to get started with a game. And some games require assets to get started. And we can put assets into a smart contract, and people can connect their gaming ID, their Quest ID, and they can rent out an NFT to try out a game. All they have to do is they have to like collateralize it. So, for example, if the price of the NFT is 0.1 at that time, they put in 0.1 ETH. They take the asset, they play the game, and if they like the game, they keep it. And our wallet absorbs that ETH,
Days,
or they can return it. Yeah.
before you continue, is this basically like a sort of Netflix but for NFTs where you pay for a service and then you get to select certain portions within that service, or maybe like a Blockbuster, right? Since you said rentals and all those
Yeah,
things.
it'll kind of be like Blockbuster, not like Netflix. Netflix would be like it'll be the subscription model where you can pay like I don't know 0.5 ETH per month and you get access to a library of 100 games and assets that can go with it. But I think with like the more ownership aspect, I think this model makes more sense where you like rent it and then, it's like, if you want to keep it, you can, whatever collateralized, whatever ETH you put in to like take out to rent out this NFT, you can keep it. We're still experimenting with like how it'll exactly work, but what my point is that gaming enables a lot more innovation because there's the stakes are a lot lower than DeFi, right? DeFi, people think, oh, replace banking, put your savings in there. Gaming is gaming, right? You have a small budget. I'm going to spend $300 or $400 or whatever on a bunch of these games. So the risk is lower, and you can do a lot more like cool stuff like this. But yeah, that's like kind of what I generally think of GameFi. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any comments, Rick?
Well, I think you've put it out well. In terms of what you were saying about having a super cycle, I think in some way you are perhaps right because we're gonna see more and more innovation uh, going on, and so we'll see more and more niches pop up left and right, which have their innovation cycle and timeline. So perhaps yes, we'll see like crypto continue doing well, with each niche having its own moment of glory, let's say. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's also like very global in nature, right? So like some part of the world can be having a bear market
Yeah.
now because now we have like two big economic superpowers. We got the US, we got China. And in this scenario, China's having a delayed reaction and now they're seeing like an uptick. And because of that, we're seeing an uptick in crypto, whereas stocks are kind of stagnant in the US. But crypto is not super correlated. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm also seeing a lot of Web2 OGs, OG builders enter the Web3 space now, like droves, like a lot of people, because everyone in Silicon Valley is getting funded for Web3 stuff. It's a lot easier to get funded for Web3 stuff. So we're gonna see a super cycle. I don't know if we're gonna see a super cycle of tokens, but we might see a super cycle of consumer apps, more social apps, and they interact better with NFTs. So yeah, that's what I think. Like, if you want to like sustainably like make some money in this space in the bear market, and along with holding whatever you're holding, I think NFTs is something that'll grow immensely. Few examples: Instagram. You can, if you have enough followers and activity, they're slowly unlocking the ability to connect your digital wallets and start posting your digital collectibles. I bet their like end goal is to like start adding more features and add a marketplace and also steal volume. So it's not just OpenSea and Blur, you know. I think it's going to be OpenSea and Blur. It's going to be Facebook,
On
Instagram.
Sui as well. Sui from
Yeah, we got Sui. Aptos raised a lot of money. But what I'm saying is a lot of what's next cycle is going to be Web 2 clashing with Web 3. Like Reddit has millions and millions of wallets. Like, what's stopping them from like starting an NFT marketplace initially for their own Reddit NFTs, and they can start adding more. So yeah, it's the next cycle is going to be like I think the biggest. It's going to be very hard to track. It's going to be huge, and there are going to be way more ways to make money in the next cycle.
Yeah, man, and you can also start like interacting with some of these protocols on Sui. Like we have Omni BTC, which is Omni Swap and Omni Lending, stuff like that. Then we also have the Kira Dex, which is things like perps and auctions. And given the fact that the Sui team comes from Meeston Labs, the individuals that tried to build out Facebook's Libra project, I think it's going to make it easier for creators and developers to create those experiences to bring in people from Web 2 onto Web 3. And I mean, given the fact that you have individuals that are just pioneers from that industry, like I think for this upcoming cycle, known as a super cycle, in my opinion, it's not necessarily going to be like how do we cater to the current users. It's more like how do we onboard the users that don't even know about any of these ecosystems. And so, one thing that Mohammed said from the Aptos team is that within the next few years, you're going to have people from the gaming side interact with these technologies without even knowing that they're interacting with an NFT and things like that. And I think things like data availability within Web3 are going to be huge. And an example that I can give is, say you're playing a game, right? Obviously, there's data that you have to save and all those stuff, but if your data drive gets corrupted or things like that, then it's absolutely crushed. But if you were to put that on a blockchain via an NFT or something like that, then perhaps that can be salvaged. And ultimately, I do think that the things that are going to facilitate all those things are modular blockchains like Celestia and things of that nature. I think that'd be pretty cool, man. What do you guys think about that? If you guys remember back in the PlayStation 2 days where you would have a memory card and you lost it or whatever, you know, there goes all your data. And same thing with what we have with PS4s and PS5s, like the new gen of technology. If your hard drive gets corrupted, then you're just absolutely cucked. Like, yeah, it does show that you have ownership of the game itself, right? But the actual like internal storage of the saved data from within the game, it's just absolutely fried, and there's no way to recover that. And I think that's another use case for NFTs. And I know within the gaming community, there's a bit of a stigma when it comes to that. But I think within the next few years, you're going to see some actual quote unquote like real problem salvage, you know, because there does come a point where you have to ask like, what problem does this solve, you know? And yeah, I think ultimately that's one of them. There's only so many times you're going to force people to upgrade their hard drive over and over and over again, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's also cloud saving. But I get your point. I think there is this one. This isn't like a hard drive thing, but more of like a cloud thing. So Stadia shut down recently, and when they announced it, someone um, posted on Twitter that like, hey, I have like I was like 3,000 or something hours on Red Dead Redemption on Stadia, and there was no way to like take that data out and like put it into like port it into like a new Rockstar Games account. So it required a ton of campaigning for them to convince Rockstar to, port everyone's um, stats to a new account that's outside of Stadia because of it shutting down. I think something like that is very easily solvable, where you can have like a public utility chain where you store this type of stuff, and then you connect it to different platforms and interact with it, and that modifies the data in your NFT. So like imagine, let's look at within crypto. We got Elixir launcher. We got a bunch of launchers popping up, and a lot of them require you to connect your wallet to it or create a new wallet. So from there, you can like um, you can basically like connect to all these different platforms with your wallet and have all of your achievements and from multiple platforms into one. Um, Imagine you can look at all of your Epic Store uh, purchased achievements, your Steam, your Sony, your Nintendo Store, all in like one dashboard, which is in your wallet. And all the achievements are separate NFTs, which then in the future you can post on your Instagram or your Reddit or your or any of these or even on Lens. So yeah, there are use cases. It's just going to take a lot of time. There's a lot of stigma um, in like the general gaming space too. For example, I was watching this video that was recommended to me on YouTube, talking about how this. So the CEO of YouTube resigned because she was there for 25 years, and this new Indian dude have written blog posts before that he's bullish on crypto. So the YouTube's new CEO is bullish on crypto, by the way. So these gaming bloggers were panicking that they're going to introduce NFTs into YouTube content, and they thought that was very bearish. So I think on the in the West, it'll take a while for like the stigma to wear off before we can see progress here. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be places like Asia. That's one thing that I mentioned a couple of months back. If you look at the previous market cycle for Web3, right, like 2019, 2020, it was actually derived from Asia that incubated a lot of these products that would become successful protocols like Matic, right? Binance incubated them through their Innovator Hub program, right? And then did their initial exchange offering where it was sort of like a community sort of funding, and there's a few others as well like Fetch AI. So I think it's just going to be the same thing. Like it's sort of like that saying, history never repeats, but it often rhymes. And if we look at the '90s, right, a lot of the tech innovation came from Sony, came from Nintendo, right? Like that was truly the first big quote unquote tech boom, and then we had another one in like 2008, 2009. um, with more of like the 4K 1080p type of resolutions with gaming and all those things and downloadable content. But then it became a problem. So many microtransactions. You're now paying like $200, $300, $400 for a game. If we look at Fortnite, even though the game is quote unquote free, there's so many microtransactions within it, right? All the skins and all that stuff. It's like, why can't that just be replaced by an NFT, right? And your perks get better and better and better the more you hold those NFTs, right? And I think the innovation is still going to come from Asia. And then, of course, America, as usual, leads behind, right? Asia was first in the cell phone. They were first with mass usage of the internet. And they're going to be the first to implement things like NFT and GameFi within their society, right? And, America has a tendency to always be the skeptic, right? Because of what's going on here, what's going on there. This guy in this bank said that and the other. And sometimes you just have to pay attention to where the money is going, right? If you have all these tech entrepreneurs raising money, they're getting filled, all their rounds are getting filled, and you see all the tech giants like lead in these raises. It goes to show that you should be looking at what's to come the next few years, not what's coming in 6 months, not what's coming next week, but what's coming in the next few years. That's how you set yourself up to be an innovator, right? An innovator within a tech cycle. And when it comes to Web3, I think at the moment you have the pioneers, and then you have the innovators, and then you have the early adopters, right? I kind of think we're in the middle between innovators and early adopters. I think we're in that little S curve of adoption when it comes to Web3. Not so much like Bitcoin, dude. I think Bitcoin is already, it's kind of like the Dow Jones already, dude. Everybody knows what it is. Everybody can buy it within an easy app. I think like the adoption curve has pretty much like peaked out, if I'm being honest, man. Um, like you're even having in some select cities here in the U.S. where you can just put your 401k into BTC, and it's like there's not much you can do to onboard more people as far as the U.S. goes. But with Web3, right, there's a lot of like incentive to partake in the innovation and growth of what's going on, and it's things like you said with cloud services, right? Things like Ocean Protocol, right? And I know with myself being a gamer, um I'm into the experience, right? Like the deeper tech stuff, I leave that to guys like yourself that are building these protocols, that are building these like killer apps and hosting platforms that are going to have all these interactive experiences that are going to incentivize individuals to partake in these experiences. And I couldn't be more excited for it. I couldn't be more excited for it, man.
Oh, King, I think you got a big point there on basically what you were saying is following the money, right? Um, we saw all these big funds like raising a lot of money, and some of the smartest of the funds are all switching to Web3 gaming. If you look at like A16Z, which was seen as the reference in terms of venture capital, they raised a huge venture fund of 1.5 billion, if I'm correct, dollars. And so, yeah, then you know that they will invest a lot of money into Web3 gaming, and then you will see a lot of startups growing in that segment because they receive funding and they can experiment, and then they come with new experimentation, and the space evolves. And then you had like funds like Framework as well, raising $400 million. I mean, they were just a DeFi fund, and they just switched 360 towards gaming. So that means a lot. So yeah, that's also one of the reasons that I have personally started something within Web3 gaming, because I think in the following years we're gonna see a huge leg up of actual very good games. but games that use the blockchain technology, not just like a game that has an NFT or token, but that does something innovative. I made a thread like I think yesterday with games and game genres, and basically the most popular game genres that I personally have played, they come all from mods. Like, for instance, League of Legends and Dota, they come from a Warcraft 3 mod. Counter-Strike, Valorant, they come from an Half-Life mod. Then you have Teamfight Classics that comes from a Dota mod. And survival games like DayZ came from Arma 2 mods. So yeah, also like public unknown battlegrounds or Fortnite that comes from Minecraft,
Rick,
etc.
what about Drake's Uncharted, bro? Drake's Uncharted from Sony. Come on, dude. We need a game like that. Or God of
Yeah,
War, dude. God of War, man.
but
Man,
I
if you
am
play Ragnarok, bro, my gosh, the
yeah,
possibilities are
yeah.
insane.
But
Yeah.
I'm not
I guess
100% sure that those games we use the blockchain technology the first. They have big graphics, and their focus is probably more consoles and high-end gaming machines. But perhaps you have to look at the smaller games, like the indie devs games, and those
yeah.
have more. They want to experiment more, and so they perhaps will come with new game genres. And after a while, you see like a big studio, like you mentioned, that created Uncharted or something, picking up those on-chain game mechanisms and then introduce them in them. So that's a bit my vision about it.
Yeah, that's the same thing that I think it's gonna happen. Also, we personally um, love micro caps. So, like imagine a game like Farmville, and you're one of like the first 500 users. Within like 6 months, you would be like top of the food chain in Farmville. Now imagine the whole game was on chain, and all the items and assets you were getting were actually on chain. Now imagine playing that like same blockchain Farmville at 500, and when it gets to like millions of users, you're rich. So I think those type of um, on-chain games that requires a bit less interference from game developers are a lot more easier to develop. AAA will come. AAA has its place. I guess Illuvium is AAA for sure. AAA is our Uncharted, for for now at least.
Yeah. Yeah, we also have other games like Katana Inu that are building out this sick sort of Devil May Cry sort of game, really fast paced hack and slash. And then we
Yeah.
also have Mechaverse, which is kind of like have you guys ever played
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've
Metaverse
seen
is cool.
yeah
Mechaverse.
yeah
That's
yeah
pretty
yeah
sick.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah and
Yeah.
if there's this gaming studio called Platinum Games, and they built out this one game called Vanquish. Dude, if we have a PvP style game just like that, that would be sick, and it would bring a whole new meaning to esports, right? And
Yeah.
I think with things like GameFi, you can add another layer onto esports. And I forgot the guy that Garland was hosting, but it's this esports vet. And
This is Sursu. Let me see if he's
yeah, he's a
online. Yeah,
Spanish
the
guy.
guy who's working on.
Yeah, he's like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, no, there's this. Okay, he might be. I don't know.
yeah.
But like the guy working on stadiums.
Dude, his name escapes me, but I know he's from like Latin America. But he said this quote where it's like, if you're a Web3 developer, you need to first off make the game fun and have an incentive where the guy playing like Fortnite, the guy playing Halo, Gears of War, what have you, would be incentivized to play your game, right? It has to be fun first and foremost, and the end user shouldn't be focused on like, wow, like, this is all gamified. I just want to farm. It has to be like so fun that that's the last thing on your mind, right? And I think within this super cycle, we're gonna have a handful of those
Yeah.
show their face.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is this game is going to be built in parts. You know, basically, for example, DeFi kingdoms. You know, some of like the tokenomics were a bit problematic, but overall, like you could like fix its issues, and you know, something like that could be like the underlying mechanics of the economy of your game, right? And then you can actually like people can earn yield out of it, and do that other type of stuff. And then on top of it, you can add on-chain gaming mechanics like Pirate Nations. How Pirate Nations works is they've done a lot of like cool, innovative stuff. I'm not going to jump into details, but what I think is that a lot of different games are going to come up. They're going to do very innovative stuff, and then after all these games die out, someone's going to pick up all these different game mechanics and make something really sick. Because that's what happens even in like regular like you know Web 2 stuff too, right? We had AI. Um, AI has been around for decades, and you know it's finally becoming relevant. So you need that onboarding event. Um, you need all the different pieces to click into one product. You know, like for example, ChatGPT isn't just like they didn't like set out to build just that product, right? They were starting with like research. They put together all these research papers, put together a team. They were working towards solutions, you know, and they got to a point where they hit a roadblock, but they could like put together all the innovation technology from all the thousands of different companies and people into like one this crazy app, which is now ChatGPT. So I think, you know, over the next year and a half, we're going to see a lot of cool game mechanics. A lot of them are going to fail. As an industry, we're going to learn lessons from that, and we're going to keep building more bulletproof game economies. Again, you know, the game has to be fun for it to work. So expect most games to die off.
That's the fun. That's the fun part, dude. Like, we get to experiment, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're having entire ecosystems like Saga XYZ. They're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
the hosting platform for a lot of these for a lot of these DApps centered around gaming, right? And then as far as
Yeah.
the AWS issue is concerned, we have protocols like Nillion, right, that are going to facilitate that issue. You know, because we can't be in this space fully reliant on AWS all the time. And I think that solution is coming again within this super cycle. Um, and of course, we do have newer platforms coming out to facilitate things like NFTs, like Blur and Shibuya, what have you. And, you know, in regards, I know you guys mentioned Lens Protocol, right? Stani is behind that. And
Mm-hmm.
Stani is also helping to fund a lot of these new hosting platforms like Shibuya, you know. So it's like what Rick said, right? Following the money. So it comes a matter of like, how do you filter out the noise and the signal from where the next quote unquote wave of innovation is going to come from, right? Um, and again, we can look back on previous market cycles to see like, wow, how did I miss this? How did I miss that, right? So with 2017, 2018, it's like, wow, it's all a scam. Why am I going to pay attention to all this if it's all ICOs going to zero? But if you paid attention, you would have seen that there were so many grants being given out and so much funding going on in the background. You guys saw the Uniswap grant. You guys saw 1inch being funded. You guys saw 3AC behind, you know, backing up ETHLend, which would eventually become Aave. You saw them backing Avalanche with subnets and what have you. And then, of course, 2020, 2021 happened, and you know that brought about 2022. And now everyone thinks like, you know, the industry is done for yet again. But if we're paying attention now, you know, there's a new cycle of innovation happening, and those products that came to fruition in 2020, 2021, like your Aves, like your Unis, right, all of that survived. they're not going anywhere. They're still rolling out updates, right? So I think we're now reaching a point where it's like not everything, as we're talking here, has to go to zero, has to be reset, and just goes away, right? Just as they did in 2018. And that kind of backs my thesis about the super cycle. You know what I'm saying? And I'm personally excited for Lens and their updates over the next coming years. If I'm being completely honest, I think that's going to be a game changer, really. And so, aside from that, before we wrap up the space, because we do have to start ending here, got to get started with a few things on my end. What are some games that you guys are excited for within Web3?
Illuvium, of course, just because like the sheer scale of like the ecosystem that they're building. Um, I've like I'm bullish on Axie ever since they launched the creator program where like anyone can like create games on top of Axie, and we're seeing really cool stuff. So that's the second one. Pirate Nations, because they're doing a lot of like cool stuff with wallet delegation, where you create the account and then their wallet pays all the gas for the on-chain gameplay. I don't know. There's like there's a long list. Maybe I'll do a thread or something on it. Yeah, I guess these would be like the top three I'm looking into. Also, Crypto Raiders for sure. Crypto Raiders. I'm I guess one of the top character holders on that game, so I'm a bit biased. But yeah, that's they're doing cool stuff too. Yeah.
Rick, how about yourself, brother?
Oh, well, it's a good question. Well, I also like Pirate Nation, like the whole onboarding process, um, and the fact that everything is like on chain, like which my bias go to. So yeah, that's one of the games that I'm playing. Actually, the only game I'm playing right now, Web3 game. But I also look closely at the development of Civitas, Play Civitas. The, it's like a Giga Brain team that's
They're building like an on-chain civilization.
yeah,
Um,
but
yeah.
they have also this AR technology implemented. So it will be like civilization with a touch of Pokemon Go, let's say. And yeah, the team is just so good. They have worked on EVE Online and all kind of other games, and they're very Web3 native. So I believe that's something that can do well. They haven't released a lot of content yet, but it's definitely something to watch out. And then you have, yeah, the Illuviums, and I like also Evido.io. It's also a cool game to play right now. I've played it a bit back in a few weeks ago. Um, and every day you see now new games popping up, Web3 games. So I think you have like a great amount of Web3 games that you can play or test. They are not all working well as they are in an alpha or beta version, but there is definitely something to dig in.
We should have a roundtable space with some of these teams, man. I think that'd be sick. Have two or three of these teams, more like two of these teams, just sharing ideas and brainstorming, with a few members of the community. So I'll try to get some of these teams gathered up.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because usually like these projects, they just keep to themselves, have their own spaces, and are being hosted by themselves. But I kind of feel that as a community, if we can empower these teams to work together and throw some ideas around,
Yeah.
we can create a lot more value within this cycle. So, yeah, man. If anyone wants to come up and ask any questions, give any statements, feel free to go ahead and click that request button. My name is Wabi. I host these spaces every day here on Because Bitcoin, and I provide more of the digital asset content within the brand. So if you're enjoying this discussion with myself and our guests, feel free to follow us here at Because Bitcoin and turn on bell notifications so you can be made aware of when I do these spaces. I never have a set time. It's all code. It's time zone differences and flexibility with our guests. So feel free to do that. And yeah, if anyone wants to come up, feel free to do so. I'll bring you right up. We'll wait a few moments for that. So as we're waiting for people, Days, Rick, have you guys ever played Mega Man?
I've like played like really like old retro versions.
Dude,
But
I remember on the
It's on
Super
Sega?
Nintendo.
Oh,
On the no, yeah, it was on the Super Nintendo and on the PlayStation 1.
okay.
In order to save your game, if you didn't have a memory card, you were supposed to write like a few numbers down, and I think that was like the inception of you can say seed phrases, right? Because
yeah,
if somebody else had those codes, they basically had your data from your Mega Man game. Pretty cool, isn't it?
yeah, it's pretty crazy, and it's interesting that now we're seeing cloud wallets, similar to like how we started seeing cloud saves
Yeah,
for gaming.
yeah,
So yeah,
and that
kind of yeah,
that was sick.
so kind of crazy. Yeah, a roller coaster tycoon used to be my jam back in the days. It's a
Man.
was more of a
I
strategy type of guy.
I remember all those kind of games, dude. And you also had Banjo Kazooie. That game was
Yep,
sick.
Conker's Bad Fur.
Yo, Conquer, dude.
Yeah,
That was sick, man. I think the last game that held true to that style of gameplay were things like Jack and Daxter, and
yeah.
they're
Well, actually, there's a Web3 game that's actually doing the same thing. You might want to check it out. Wait, let me post it here. I've been telling everyone about it. So it's like kind of Mario runs in browser. It's 3D, and it's Web3 enabled.
feel free to put it on the Nest. I put the latest Illuvium stream up on the Nest as well. If anybody wants to check that out.
Did I post it in the right place?
I don't think we can see it. Oh yeah, Super Trip. Yeah. That one
Yeah,
is
you put it
Yeah,
dope.
in the comment section, guys. I'll put it up on the Nest for you, Days.
thanks. But yeah, it's by this account, Supertrip664. It's this 3D artist and an indie game developer, two people, and they've built out this really crazy game. Um, it's on iOS, so you could download it on your iPhone. Also, we're not like affiliated or anything. I just like it a lot.
All good, man. All good, brother. All good. I've probably mentioned like 7 products today that I have
Yeah,
zero
yeah, yeah.
affiliation with, but that's what we're here to do, man. We're here to share innovation. Not really too much biases, really. But yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Oh, we have Ordinal's Duck. Let's bring them up real quick before we wrap up. Go ahead, Duck.
Hey, Wabi, how are you, sir?
What's up, brother? God bless you.
Oh, God bless you, man. It's been a while. I've just been building. Hey, what's going on, guys? I've been listening in and out. Haven't been able to listen for a while, but I'm actually really interested in what's going on. You know, when it comes to games, I'm not sure if y'all remember Neo Geo. The I guess I was like,
Yeah, the pocket game.
yeah, Metal Slug.
Yeah,
You guys remember Metal Slug?
yeah, man.
I'm still waiting for something like that to pop up.
Cobra Strike, dude. All the Capcom games, dude. All the Namco games. Like, come on, dude. Like, you're talking to a lifelong gamer here, dude. I remember everything going back to like the OG Legend of Zelda. That's as far as
Oh,
I
that's a good
go.
one. That's a good one.
I've played like Game and Watch as well. Castlevania, I love Castlevania, but I do have a biases now for 3D games, and the latest Castlevania game, unfortunately, it should be 3D. I know they kind of came out with the side game that was 2D, but I'm not really gonna count that. But Castlevania Lords of Shadow was so sick, man, so sick.
That's a good
And
one.
dude, what's crazy is that the game came out in early 2010, late 2009, and it still holds up to this day. The music, the visuals, the story, like, dude, it is sick, man.
Man, that's honestly that's what Metal Slug like 2 and 3 are for me. I remember being in Mexico, with my cousins, and we would just go down to the arcade, and we would just like spend like probably like 100 pesos like every other day just to go down there and freaking just play Metal Slug. But it was just a giant arcade, bro. And I'm like 6 years old, man, and I play the game still. And it's actually kind of funny because that's what it inspired a game called Mighty Goose, and it's kind of on theme. But there's a little character in Mighty Goose, and that's where I got my art from. So it all kind of just it's funny how it hits home, man, and it's really fun.
Ordinal, just this is the producer speaking. Just so you know, there is another Metal Slug game in the works. It's going to be coming out maybe this year.
Wait, say again. You're rugging a little bit.
There's another Metal Slug game coming out.
Oh, I know. So there was I think they had Metal Slug J or something like that. The one to Japan, and then there's another one coming out for mobile, right?
There's it's going to be on Steam actually. The one that I had.
Oh shit!
It's going to be I think it's a tactical.
Oh
one.
yep. I remember that. Yeah. So it launched in beta in Japan or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. If you go on YouTube and search for it, the tactical one, I believe there's a couple of like videos of like how it works. So you go on missions, and it's a little, well, I'm not sure if it's the one we're talking about, but there's one where you go on missions and you can like kind of RPG like Theo or Marco or any of the other characters. So it's really interesting. I'm glad that stuff is coming back because they're so fun.
James, go ahead, man.
Oh, hey, cool. Thanks. Hey, Because and King, thanks so much for having me on the show, guys. And happy Saturday to everybody. I really have. Oops. What did you say, Orton?
I'm sorry, but I just said quack quack. It's good. It's positive. Saturday is fun.
Oh, okay, cool. No, I've really enjoyed listening into the program so far. I joined in a little bit late, and I know you guys are wrapping up the show, so I don't want to take too long and hog up the mic. But I love the concept of 100x crypto talk and discussing different cryptocurrencies and projects. I've been in the space since 2017. I'm only 20 years old, so I've been in this since I was pretty young. I was a little early to buy Bitcoin, not too early, but I was pretty lucky on that. But no, yeah, I just kind of wanted to, with, of course, Because and King's permission, to maybe share something valuable to the audience that personally I find interesting with the future of finance and the future of blockchain technology. It should take maybe 2 minutes, worst case scenario. I just don't want to go over your guys' limit, so I wanted to ask for permission first.
Sure, go ahead, man. Share your thesis. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it seems like we're on the brink of like a financial revolution, financial transformation, and I keep hearing this term a lot, like the greatest transformation of wealth in human history. And the more that I read up on it, it just really seems like all that is the final evolution of the monetary system, where essentially central banks and financial institutions change the underlying infrastructure to blockchain technology. And whatever blockchain technology they do make the underlying infrastructure of the global economy, the native asset of that blockchain or of that network is more than likely going to be extremely high in value. And so I'm a big time Bitcoin enthusiast and Ethereum enthusiast. And so one of the problems I see with those technologies, though, ultimately to be adopted by financial institutions and central banks, is that Bitcoin's a great store of value, but the network, as far as what it can handle for TPS and just smart contracts and whatnot, it's just a little bit limited right now in its capabilities. And then Ethereum is just a little bit limited with its gas fees and TPS as well. So I'm not even too big of a fan of the XRP ledger. I really think it's also very limited in its capabilities. But I'm actually a really big fan of the company Ripple. I'm sure you guys know about the company Ripple. They're very big, and they're partnered with lots of institutions and central banks. We basically, my team and I have actually felt like we have uncovered the secret project of Ripple that they've been funding since 2018 and they haven't been telling anybody about. We think that basically this year, the central banks and the financial institutions are going to turn on CBDCs, wholesale CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. It's like programmable money, essentially. I'm sure a lot of you know what that is. Maybe some of you don't. But it seems more than likely, just based off the fact that many big central banks and institutions are coming out with their own publications about programmable money and digital pound and the digital euro. So I think where I'm getting at with this is that, crazy enough, if you have ever heard the CEO of Ripple, Mr. Brad Garlinghouse, speak at a Swell event or an interview, he talks a lot about how Ripple is a company focused on enterprise solutions for enterprise customers. And we actually have figured out, you guys might be blessed to hear this, what is the first ever enterprise grade blockchain. It's called an EGB, and it uses something called COSM WASM smart contract technology. Are you guys perhaps familiar? It's very important. Do you guys know what COSM WASM smart contracts is? Like, I know Ethereum uses
Yeah,
Viper and Solidity.
yeah. We actually hosted a Zaki here yesterday, man. Dude,
Oh, no way.
I hate to cut you off, dude. I really
No, you're
do.
good.
But we just reached the hour, dude, and I want to be respectful of our producer's time. But
100%.
yeah, feel free to come back on the show whenever, dude. We host this almost every day. So yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. Dude. With that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation, follow us here on Twitter. A re-upload of this space will be onto our YouTube in about 5 to 10 minutes after the space is concluded. My name's Wabi. I host these spaces every day. And take care, guys. Have a nice Saturday. Thank you so much to the speakers. Thank you so much to the audience. Feel free to follow Days and Rick, and feel free to follow what they're building over at GG Quest. And hopefully within the future, I can set up a space with the products mentioned here today on the space, and also you gentlemen over at Wolves DAO, right? That'd be pretty sick. So anyways, guys, God bless you and take care. Bye-bye.
The trading current is just math. It's just math. It has a 95.45% hit rate when we deviate outside of CP2 and CN2. All you had to do is recognize that 95% of the time when we get over here, under this blue line, we get some sort of mean reversion. So let's just assume you long right here. 95 out of 100 times, when I buy this, I'm gonna get some sort of bounce. It's just math. Look what would have happened as we move up. Look at the bounce that came after. And now look where we are. If you had just blindly followed the current, you take all emotions out of it, and you say, I'm going to trust the statisticians, you would have bought Dow Jones somewhere down here under 30,000. You know, depending on how you want to measure it from absolute top to bottom, 20% move. We also have multi-time frame alerts. You don't even have to be at your computer on TradingView. You can ping your phone. Now, the current has some really awesome features, and I would urge you guys to join our Discord to get access to it. We give it away for free as a tool to the community. It's just math. There's really no need to overcomplicate things, not even in the slightest.